Hello, girls. Welcome back to another session of online education. Join me to explore the history and civics subject of Standard 7. Girls, just a gentle reminder, if you all don't have a history textbook at home, download the e-textbook. Before I begin, students often think and ask, why do we need to study history, the past, so on? But a simple answer to this question is that as the roots hold the tree firmly, so does history keep us connected to our culture and makes us responsible and wiser as we learn from past experiences and happenings. But how do we know about the history of any period or era? Yes, through sources of history. So now, quickly let's get acquainted with the content of Standard 7, first chapter of history, titled Sources of History. Last year, you all had studied about the ancient Indian history. This year, we are going to study about the medieval period of Indian history, the period from the 9th century till the end of the 18th century CE. The full form is Common Era. History gives us a chronological, date-wise, scientific and systematic account of past events. 4 factors are important from the viewpoint of history. They are individuals, society, place, and time. History must be based on authentic evidence or proofs. Authentic means real or genuine. Now we have to consider many factors before we use the sources of history and verify to see whether they are authentic, genuine, and use them judiciously, wisely, only after a critical analysis. So now, before we learn more about the different sources of history, watch this informative video.
In this module, you will learn about the study of various types of historical sources and its importance in the construction of history. Historical sources are the foundation to understand a particular era back in time. They help us to gain knowledge about important events, inventions, cultures, civilizations, and many other aspects about society. They serve as evidence in the construction of history. Let us take a look at some of the historical sources of history. Literary sources are original sources of information in the form of documents or recordings created in the past. There are 2 kinds of literary sources of history: native literature and foreign literature. Native literature is the literature produced by the indigenous people of a given era. Some examples of native literature of India are Vishak Dattas, Mudra Rakshas, Kalhanas, Rajtarargini, Ashwaghosha's Buddha Charitra, Kautilya's Arthashastra, Amogh Varsha's Kavi Rajamarga, and the Tripitakas of Buddhist literature. Foreign literature refers to the writings of foreign visitors, explorers, and scholars. Some examples of foreign literary sources are Megasthenes Indica, Huan Sang's Siyuki, Fa Hein's Fu Ko Ki, Ceylon's Deepvansh, and Mahavansh. The writings of Fernando Nunes, who visited the Vijayanagar Empire, and the writings of Domingos Pais, Duarte Barbosa, and Niccolo di Conti. Archaeological sources of history are the artifacts like inscriptions, coins, monuments, pots, and pans that have been obtained during archaeological excavations. Let us learn about inscriptions, coins, and monuments. Inscriptions provides us with information about the religion, culture, administration, economy, and other aspects of a given place during that period. The earliest inscription found in India was written by the Mauryan Emperor, Ashoka. These inscriptions were engraved on rock edicts, slabs, and stone pillars. Some of these edicts have been found in Maski in Raichur district and Brahmagiri in the Chitradurga district of Karnataka. The inscriptions found in India are mostly in the Brahmi script and the Prakrit language. The Halmidi inscription is believed to be the first inscription available in the Kannada language. Numismatics is the study of the evolution, nature, and development of coins. Early coins have been minted by using a variety of metals. A study of these coins helped gain knowledge about the minting technologies used, as well as the religious, economic, administrative, and social aspects. They help us to know about the important rulers or famous personalities of that era from the images on the coins. Stupas, basadis, or Jain temples, palaces, and fort ruins are the kinds of monuments which exist today. These monuments enable us to know about the unique architectural designs and technological, social, religious, political, and economic conditions of that period. They reflect the achievements of kings and administrators. Ashoka's pillars, Ajanta and Ellora caves, the Elephanta caves, Badami, Aihole, and Pattadakal of Karnataka are evidences of India's glorious heritage. A legend is a story from the past that is believed by many people but cannot be proved to be true. Legends are also referred to as Sthala Puranas. There are many legends about individuals, events, and customs of the past which have been passed down the ages. Although legends do not provide direct information relating to an event, they reflect the social beliefs which prevailed in the society. Let us now recap all the important points that we have covered in this module on sources of history.
Girls, I'm sure you must have watched the video carefully. Now, let's recap with the textual content. As you can see in the web of the material sources, which are also called as physical sources, they include memorials, buildings, cave sculptures, inscription, coins, copper plates, forts. Forts are also important source of history. Monuments, virgalas, etc. The coins made by different rulers using metals like gold, silver, copper are important sources of history. From these coins, we can know about the rulers, their period, governance, religious ideas, etc. From some of the coins of Emperor Akbar, we can see the images of Ram Sita or Shiv Parvati on the coins of Hyder Ali, thus portraying religious coordination of those days. Religious tolerance practiced by these rulers. The Peshwas used the Arabic or Persian language, and they also throw light on the use of language in that period. An inscription is a carving on a stone or a wall For example, the inscriptions found in the Brihadeshwara temple premises in Tanjavur. These inscriptions by different rulers and period of Chalukyas, Rashtrakuta, Chola, Yadav are considered very important as we come to know about the language, script, social life of that period. Even royal edicts, verdicts that are official proclamation or orders by the authoritative ruler are also inscribed on copper plates. Material sources also include chaityas, viharas, temple, churches, mosque, minarets, village boundaries, weapons, utensils, implements, musical instruments, etc. On this page, we can see a picture of a Veer Gala, a coin of the Peshwa period, a coin of Hyder Ali. And now, let's move on to the written sources of history. We learn about significant historical events in the medieval period from sources like the writing styles of scripts like Devanagari, Arabic, Persian, Modi. There were varieties of different languages. Bhurja Patras. Bhurja Patras are letter sheets in Sanskrit. Manuscripts, treatises, edicts, decree. They are official order or proclamations by the authority. Biographies, paintings, etc. We also learn from different items, attire, rules of conduct of the people, festivals, and about people's life. In the video, you must have also seen about the literary sources of history. They included travelogues by travelers from other countries and native travelers. For example, Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta, etc. We also come to learn about history from Babur's biography, biographies of Shivaji Maharaj composed by the poet Parmanand, as well as various other biographies, help us to understand the rulers and their policies and administrative system and diplomatic relations with others. Twarik or Tariq means the sequence of events. This also is an important source of history. This is an image of a Bhurja Patra, an important source of written source of history. Bakhar is a type of a chronicle. What's a Bakhar? A Bakhar, a historical narrative written in Marathi. They narrate history in Marathi. Chronicle. What is a chronicle? A chronicle is a factual written account of historical events date wise. So they help us to understand the contemporary political happenings, the linguistic transaction, that is, the transaction of language and their development, the cultural life and social conditions. There are various Bakhars, for example, Sabasad Bakhar, Bhausavanji Bakhar, Pani. Now let's know more about the oral sources of history. Oral sources of history included folk songs, gathas, shlokas, abhangas, povadas, proverbs, legends, myths. Legends are old stories which may or may not be true. Myths are famous false beliefs. They also included Ovi, which is a rhythmic prose in Marathi, povadas, etc. Here, girls, I would like to bring to your notice that history is written with the help of the three types of sources mentioned. But the research goes on continuously, and new sources and information come to light through this research. And therefore, certain aspects of history are rewritten accordingly. So we can see that our history books and those of your parents or grandparents may differ to a certain extent. Now, before we proceed further, let's enjoy a Povada of Tanaji as mentioned in your textbook.
संधी पाहून कोंढणा किल्ला घ्यावा ताब्यात अष्टमी मूर्त ठेवा ध्यानात जिजाबाई बदल्या राजगडात कोंढाण्यासारखा बळकट किल्ला मोगलांच्या हाती असणं बरं नाही. ही आपली अस्मिता आहे. शेलार मामा होते संगतीला. एवढ्यात तानाजी मालुसरेकडून रायबाच्या लग्नाचं निमंत्रण घेऊन एक दूत महाराजांकडे आला आणि तेव्हा परतीचा निरोप पाठविला तानाजीला तुम्ही लागा लगीन करायला आम्ही जातो बघा लढाईला. तानाजी मालुसरेला हे कळतात ते काय म्हणतात, आम्ही लग्नात वरबाप म्हणून मिरवायचं आणि आमच्या राजाला लढायला जायचं, हे कदापि शक्य नाही. तानाजीने मनी केला पण आणि दिले बघा वचन आधी करू लग्न कोंढाण्याचे नंतरच लग्न रायबाचे घ्यावे ऐकून एवढे आमुचे प्रणाम केला राजाला. तानाजी वीर चालला कमरेला बांधला कोंढाण्याचे उंच शिखर कोंढाण्याचे उंच शिखर रात किरकिर मोठी अवघड गडावर जावे तरी कसे टाकावे कुडीकडून फासे. आणि एवढ्यात तानाजीने आपल्या पेटाऱ्यातील घोरपड बाहेर काढली. त्या घोरपडीचं नाव काय माहितीये? यशवंती चाल घोरपड बांधी दोरीला यशवंती कुंकू हातो तुला आज यावे आमच्या मदतीला गड येईल आमच्या हाताला वचन दिलंय आम्ही राजाला मावळे चढती वरतीला जागी होतो स्वाभिमानाला असे करून चढले कोंढाणा जिरहाजी चढले कोंढाणा जिरहाजी त्यावेळी कोंढाण्याचा किल्लेदार होता उदयभान नावाचा एक राजपूत. आणि मग तानाजीनं वार बघा केला उदयभान बघाच तळला पलटवार त्याने बघा केला तानाजीच्या तोडलं ढालीला कमरेचा काढून शेला शेल्यावर कीर्ती वार आला उदयभान चेरी सांडला उदयभानच्या एका वाराला तानाजीचा हात उडविला इंच जखमा अंगाला रक्ताने वीर नालेला. रक्ताच्या थारोळ्यात तानाजीला बघून 80 वर्षाचे शेलार मामा उदयभानावर धावून आले. मामांनी मारलं उड्डाणाला दात खाऊन केला बहाराला रक्त लागले होते तलवार.
And now we come to the last part of the chapter, and that is why and how we can evaluate the sources of history. While doing so, we have to take certain precautions before using these sources of history to check whether they are genuine and not fake. We also have to study the integrity of the writers, whether the writer is honest in its description, their personal interest, the period in which they lived, or maybe there was any political pressures on them and they believe only on hearsay, or they give us an eyewitness account. We need to consider these literary devices so that the information can be verified with the help of other contemporary sources. Contemporary sources are those who were living and witnessed it at that time. The information may sometimes be one sided, contradictory, that is, opposed, and sometimes exaggerated, that is, overemphasized. So it has to be seen with a proper outlook, perspective. The sources have to be subjected to critical analysis. Critical analysis is a thorough evaluation of any source, whether they are genuine or not. The author's impartiality and neutrality are very important in writing history because we have to be sure that the writer's description is not biased, he is not unfair and neutral with no favoritism. Only then that source of history can be a reliable source of history. So now, to understand clearly what we just heard, watch this video.
Welcome to another History Skills video. Today we're looking at how to evaluate the reliability of historical sources. This skill will allow you to confidently choose quality sources for your history assessment tasks, especially research essays. So what is reliability? Reliability is a source evaluation skill which asks you to draw a conclusion about whether a particular source is trustworthy. It is important that the sources you use in your assessment pieces are reliable, so that the quotes you use from them can be trusted. But be careful, it's hard to be completely sure that any source is 100% reliable or completely unreliable. Therefore, when we talk about reliability of sources, we talk in terms of degrees of reliability. For example, you can conclude that a source is extremely, very, somewhat, rarely, or not very reliable. So how do you assess reliability? Your decision about a source's reliability is based primarily upon what you know about the creator of the source. Therefore, during your analysis of the source, ensure that you discover who the creator was and investigate their background, when they lived, and what perspective they had on the historical events you are focusing upon. Once you know enough about the creator of the source, you can argue that a source is reliable based upon any of the following information: that the creator of the source was personally present at the event, or that the creator of the source has a highly educated perspective on the topic, such as a university professor. Alternatively, that the source has been fact-checked and subsequently approved by its audience, such as an academic journal. But what if you find that a source is unreliable? When using information from sources to prove your argument, you need to be able to use sources that are reliable. If you have found a source which you think is unreliable, the best advice would be not to use that source. However, if the source is too relevant to your topic that you cannot use another, try and use a different evaluation skill to argue for why you are using it, rather than simply saying that the source is unreliable. But if you have to, how do you establish unreliability? Based upon what you have discovered in your analysis of the source, you can raise doubts about the reliability of a source based upon any of the following. Firstly, that the creator of the source was not present at the time of the event. For example, they are writing hundreds of years after it occurred. Or that the creator of the source is not sufficiently educated enough about the topic. For example, they have no formal education in history. Alternatively, you have discovered so much biased language in the source that you believe it undermines its credibility. For example, an online blog post. Finally, it is clear that the purpose of the source was to entertain rather than simply give an opinion or focus on the facts about the topic.
And now for the assignment. For assignment, you will have to look on page number 4, exercise section, and do question number 1, 2, and 3. I repeat, question number 1, 2, and 3. For question number 4, you only have to learn and draw the web diagrams of the following concepts: material sources, written sources, and oral sources. Other questions will be discussed in the classroom later. So for now, get going. All the best. Hashtag stay healthy, stay safe, stay educated.